Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. That we discussed quite a bit on Sunday night's Aaron Torres pod, and that is certainly a busy and interesting week for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Okay, so Auburn, you probably heard, lost to Arkansas on Saturday. We talked about that game, but really the headline from that game, and I'm just kind of setting this up. We're not going through everything Hugh Freeze said on Sunday, but the headline of that game was that Auburn's quarterback play is just abysmal, okay? 5 total turnovers, 4 interceptions for the quarterbacks, obviously. And on top of that, it's worth noting, Auburn now, right now, coming out of Saturday, coming out of week 4, they now are dead last in total turnovers this year in college football. Not ideal, by the way, going up against an Oklahoma team that's number 1 in the country in turnovers forced. That's a conversation for later in the week. But after the game, Hugh Freeze was asked about it, and Hugh Freeze transparently, I thought, gave reasonable answers to the situation at hand. Multiple times during his press conference, he said, look, the coaching's got to be better, whatever. But at the same time, there was one quote that certainly made headlines, and it was that Hugh Freeze basically asked about his quarterback situation, said point blank, end of story, and I'm sort of paraphrasing, but I'm sort of not, said we need to find a quarterback who doesn't throw the ball to the other team. Again, when you lead the country in turnovers, when you have had 4 interceptions each against the only power conference teams that you have played, to me, doesn't seem all that controversial. Again, in a perfect world, is it something that you should say? I don't know, but I'm also not going to blame them. The players, they are compensated, and I don't think he should go up and lie and pretend everything is all hunky-dory, okay? So that was what Hugh Freeze said on Saturday. By the way, it's worth noting on Monday night on his coach's show, Hugh Freeze also added that if they played Arkansas 9 more times, they would have beaten them. Didn't really love that. But again, it's a coach's show. If you're an Arkansas fan, you have every right to be frustrated. But I would counter by saying they did turn the ball over 5 times. They had 100 more yards of total offense than Arkansas. By the way, Arkansas, 334 yards. About 70 of them came on one throw from Talon Green. So again, don't think what Hugh Freeze said about Arkansas was all that controversial. But again, if you're an Arkansas fan, totally understand why you'd be frustrated. Same time, Hugh Freeze, kind of an easy target. We know about his history. We've talked about it a million times. I don't really care what the guy did in his personal life. If his wife forgives him, if his kids forgive him, that's his personal life. But he is an easy target. And when you're an easy target, you know what's going to happen. Other people are going to come after you. Other people are going to use what you say against you. And especially in college football, where recruiting is king, where you're looking for any little edge that you possibly can get, people are going to take advantage when they can. And so I found it interesting because on Monday at his press conference, Lane Kiffin, you know him, current Ole Miss coach, Lane Kiffin was asked about how he handles quarterback situations. Producer Matt, go ahead and play the sound of Lane.
From on the field, there's a trust level there of, we spend a lot of time with him and then let him play too on Saturdays. And I just think that, like you said, it started one way. I think that, you build that, especially for a guy that we didn't really recruit out of high school, any of that, didn't have a previous relationship. And I think it pays off, when you have relationships and the quarterbacks trust you too, and go back to Matt Corral when he threw 6 interceptions, and before I even got to the media, sitting down with him, telling him, we got to do a better job calling plays. I got to coach better, and don't worry, we got your back. And so I think that goes a long ways, and goes a long ways with kids in recruiting, knowing what they're going to get when they get here from a relationship, and that they can trust us to have their back.
So that was Lane Kiffin talking about how he handles his quarterback situation. Of course, he just so happened to basically say the exact opposite of how Hugh Freeze handled the situation on Saturday. Oh, I went to Matt Corral before I even went to the media, and I said, oh my goodness gracious, I have to do a better job. It's all my fault, not your fault at all, Matt. And so, of course, after Lane Kiffin, who I think smartly said that, when that sound went viral, a funny thing happened. The internet, which likes to gang up on certain people, Jim Harbaugh for years, Brian Kelly for years, certainly Hugh Freeze, the internet all loved what Lane Kiffin had to say. And of course said, oh, this is how you have to do it. Lane Kiffin, this guy, he's Mother Teresa with a headset on. Oh my goodness, look at how he handles things with his quarterbacks versus how Hugh Freeze handles things with his. Lane Kiffin, he's amazing. Except here's the thing. Is Lane Kiffin really that amazing, or is he really kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth? Because at the end of the day, listen, we talked about it on Sunday. I don't love what Hugh Freeze said. But at the same time, I don't think he should lie. I also don't feel too bad about Peyton Thorne or Hank Brown. How about stop throwing the ball to the other team and then the coach doesn't have to say that? Also, those players are very well compensated, which we discussed. But let's also look at it from a different perspective. Because Lane Kiffin, oh my goodness, he's beating Furman and he's beating Wake Forest, and this guy has all the answers right now. Except here's my question. Is Lane Kiffin's treatment of quarterbacks all that different than Hugh Freeze's? Because I don't think that it is. It's funny that Lane Kiffin mentions Matt Corral, because first of all, he inherited Matt Corral, as he said. This was the pre-portal era, kind of stuck with him, whatever. But he did a very good job with him, got Matt Corral drafted. I think I just saw Matt Corral maybe got released by somebody and is now trying to get another opportunity somewhere else. Anyway, bring it up because Lane Kiffin did a very good job with Matt Corral. Of course, if you remember how things ended for Matt Corral, it was in the Sugar Bowl that, first of all, he just ran Matt Corral literally into the ground. Matt Corral gets hurt in the Sugar Bowl. And what ends up happening after Matt Corral gets hurt in the Sugar Bowl? Oh, I seem to remember what happens. I actually remember very well what happened. He went to a quarterback named Luke Altmaier. Luke Altmaier ended up losing that game. They lose to Baylor. And then a funny thing happened from there. Lane Kiffin, who again, if you ask the internet on Monday night, is Mother Teresa with a visor and a headset. Oh, he went into the portal and replaced Luke Altmaier with Jackson Dart. Yeah, oh my goodness, this guy that makes it work with every quarterback basically shoved Luke Altmaier out the door. By the way, you know what's even more interesting than that? Jackson Dart comes in. First year, the Ole Miss goes 8-5 with Jackson Dart. And it's easy to forget now because, again, you beat Furman and you got all the answers. But a funny thing happened. Jackson Dart goes 8-5. What does Lane Kiffin do? He goes into the portal not once, but twice to get two separate quarterbacks after Jackson Dart's first season at Ole Miss. The guy who loves quarterbacks and he makes it work with everybody, he went into the portal, and what did he do? He got Walker Howard, Spencer Sanders. And you could tell me, oh, they knew they were coming in to be back. No, they weren't. They went into the portal to find a replacement for Jackson Dart. Spencer Sanders had 1 year of eligibility left. That is it. He had 1 year of eligibility left. He was not going to Ole Miss unless he thought that he had a legitimate chance to win the starting quarterback job. Walker Howard, by the way, left LSU, his home state school. By the way, he was the guy that danced with Brian Kelly in that weird video that first year. But I bring it up. Walker Howard left LSU because he knew there was a guy named Jaden Daniels coming back and he wasn't starting. So this idea that Lane Kiffin is just some sort of, again, Mr. Gentile with quarterbacks, it's absolute nonsense. And so, look, I'm not going to spend too much more time on this because I want to get to a couple other topics before we get out of here. But internet, you just have to be better and have to be smarter about how you approach and appreciate and talk about these guys, okay? Because at the end of the day, listen, they're all trying to win games, and they're all going to do essentially whatever it takes to win games. Lane Kiffin is no better, no worse than Hugh Freeze in terms of the portal, in terms of running guys off, in terms of whatever. And oh, by the way, right now it's rocking for Ole Miss. Let's see what happens in a year from now when Jackson Dart's gone. Let's see what happens in a year from now when this. Let's see what happens, by the way, when a lot of young guys that are playing for Hugh Freeze now are sophomores and juniors and seniors, because Hugh Freeze is recruiting about as well as anybody in college football. Not here to completely dismiss what Hugh Freeze said. Would have loved him to handle things a little bit differently. He did not. That's okay. Did not say the perfect thing about Arkansas on Monday night either. But guess what? Lane Kiffin has put his foot in his mouth more than once. Lane Kiffin, by the way, ask anybody. No, I'm not even going to go there. Personal life, whatever. You get the point. Nobody's perfect. Nobody handles every situation perfect. I just found the whole Lane Kiffin thing. Oh my goodness, Lane Kiffin. He's such a good guy and he's got all the answers. It's like he's got all the answers now because he's 3-0. Let's see what happens if he loses to Kentucky next week or LSU in a few weeks or whatever. But yeah, Lane Kiffin going after Hugh Freeze. It is open season on Hugh Freeze. Oh, by the way, I know Oklahoma's got its own quarterback situation. I don't know if it's getting any better on Saturday.